Hi, Jeff Igley with Hotel News Now. We're here at day one of the Hunter Hotel Conference. I'm with Sean McCracken and Dana Miller. You know, guys, the first day for me was really all about the flexibility required in the hotel industry. The industry's always needed that certain amount of fluidity that helps owners, operators, and developers, but now more than ever, whether you're talking about a winter storm, a nor'easter blowing through the northeast that requires a lot of travel plans to be changed, whether you're talking about growing portfolios that, whether you're a buyer or a seller, it really depends at this time. You're talking about the emergence of more U.S. GDP growth that will provide more of a runway for more growth in the hotel industry. In addition, you've got things like the pipeline, all of the money sitting on the sidelines. There's tons of stuff. But one of the things that really popped out today was the realization finally that select service is indeed an investment-grade investment for the hotel industry. And when you couple that with the interest rate rise that went into effect today or was announced today, and I think it was Tyler Morris from MCR that said, it took them 8 years to get back to normal, which for interest rates, which will provide more of a runway for the hotel industry. But all in all, I think that big takeaway, Sean, was the fact that select service is becoming such a darling of institutional investors.
Yeah, that was my top takeaway too. Some really interesting commentary from both Mitch Shaw from Noble and Cyril Shaw from Starwood Capital on that exact topic. It seems like if there's a time for you to get into select service as an institutional investor, the time is right now. Everybody is hearing on the earnings calls, the REITs that work in a more full service, traditional REIT type properties are saying, they don't have REIT quality assets out there, so maybe this is the time to go after it. There is the counter argument that was made during that discussion that maybe institutional investors haven't fully embraced select service, and I've personally heard, I'm sure you've heard it from Wall Street analysts and investors in the past, that they would like to invest in hotels that they want to stay in, and that's not necessarily the Courtyards of the world. They want trophy assets, but cash flow is king, and if those select service assets give you the cash flow you need to make money, why would you turn your nose up to making money? The other really interesting thing I thought today was the discussion around Coca-Cola, since the chairman of the company was here to give the first presentation, and just all the commentary about how their goal as a brand, which there's no more powerful brand in the world than Coca-Cola, is to always be within arm's reach of desire, which I thought was a really interesting take on how to grow your business. I don't know how you do that as a hotel. It's obviously you can't always be within arm's reach, but with mobile technology and the distribution landscape, there's ways to scratch that itch that might be a little bit different than what you'd expect with Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I suppose you would look at it from a franchisor's perspective. They would want to be on every street corner to be in arm's reach, so yeah. I think there's probably a play there. And the one thing interesting about what you're talking about with that investment grade for select services, as we see La Quinta deal with Wyndham finalize, and the franchising and management deal goes to Wyndham under Raj Trivedi, what's left with the REIT that's going to be formed on that? It's going to be a mid-scale REIT for the first time in a long time in our industry. And what will that mean for institutional investors and other investors? So it's going to really bear watching. And all of that change that we were talking about certainly talks about disruptors. And Dana, you have some things to say that came up about Airbnb today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it can't be a hotel conference without talking a little bit about Airbnb. And what I thought was interesting was just hearing that it really is a wake-up call for brands and owners to stay more relevant on what guests really need. And they shouldn't look at it just as a threat, but also as a lesson as a whole. So overall, they were just saying stay nimble and stay relevant.
Yeah, the most interesting thing that I thought that came out of that was David Marvin from on that panel talked about the fact that when you're building a hotel, you've got to look at Airbnb supply as something that will affect your business.
Absolutely. And that's a wrap for day one.